In my previous video, I discussed about fermented feed and how important is fermented feed to your birds and how also it can help you to reduce cost of production by about 10 to 15%. Despite all these benefits of fermented feed and how it improves the gut health and boosts immunity of your broilers, we notice that a lot of farmers don't do this fermented feed. What are the reasons why, despite all these benefits, farmers refused to use fermented feed? These are the answers I will give to these questions, and I'm going to reveal 7 reasons why I think most farmers don't use fermented feed, knowing fully well that it's far more better than the regular feed. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and if this is your first time of coming across my video, please help me to grow my channel by clicking the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon so that you get notified anytime I upload a new video. Don't hesitate to give this video a like. Drop your questions in the comment section and I will respond to them. And please help me to grow my channel by sharing so that others can benefit. Fermented feed has a whole lot of importance that it gives to both your birds and the farmers, in the sense that health-wise, economical, and overall performance in terms of production, and it reduces the cost of production as well. But despite all these benefits, farmers don't go into this fermented feed, and I'm going to give the reasons. So one of the major reasons why a lot of farmers don't go into this fermented feed is that the lack of knowledge and awareness. Many farmers simply don't know how to properly prepare and use this fermented feed, and there is this fear of spoilage or the feed going bad, and the feed, once it goes bad, there is nothing you can do about it. That means that in the process of trying to produce this fermented feed, if there is an error, you cannot correct it. That feed is wasted already. So this is one of the major reasons. The number 2 is the time and the labor intensive. When we are talking about fermented feed, it's time consuming and it's labor intensive, such that when the fermentation requires to be soaked, then the mixing, then you have to also monitor it, most especially monitoring the pH. And another thing that is that you have to wait for 24 to 72 hours for the fermentation to complete. So this time and this labor intensiveness makes a lot of farmers to shy away from this fermented feed. Let's compare it to the regular feed. All you just need to do for the regular feed is just to get your regular feed and give to your birds. But in fermented feed, you have to undergo through this process. And when you see these commercial farmers running a large-scale operation, it's more convenient for them than going into fermenting process, because if you want to ferment for a large-scale farm, that means you need large barrels or large drums to process this fermentation, and it's going to be very, very tedious. So it's not really convenient for large-scale farmer. But if you are a backyard poultry farmer of, say, less than 200 or let's say less than 300 birds, you can use this fermented feed to save cost and you will make huge profits. The third factor that makes a lot of farmers shy away from this fermented feed is the risk of contamination. If it is not done hygienically, harmful bacteria or mold may grow instead of the beneficial microbes, and this increases the chances of contamination. So you just have to be very careful to avoid contamination, because once there is any contamination of the feed, this can lead to disease outbreak instead of the health benefit that it will give to your birds. It will now become detrimental to your birds, whereby you start spending money on medication to treat your birds. The fourth point is the storage and the shelf life issues. You see, this fermented feed that I am talking about has a shorter shelf life and can spoil quickly, most especially in hot climates, if you don't use it fast. That is why, if you listen to my previous video, I made mention that you should make sure you are able to calculate the quantity of feed that the birds will consume within 24 hours. That is the best way, so that you avoid feed spoilage and feed wastage. And if you look at it very well, farmers prefer the dry feed that can last for weeks or months. Like normally, our regular feed can last for roughly 3 months, if I'm not mistaken. So, but whereas the fermented feed cannot exceed 24 to 48 hours, especially in hot climate, you now see that there is a kind of benefit in this aspect for the regular dry feed. The fifth point is that there is inconsistency of results. Let me explain this for you. Some farmers that have tried it, they reported that there is poor growth or wet droppings when the fermentation process was not balanced. Maybe this batch you produce your fermented feed and it was okay. The next batch, due to some maybe climatic changes, then there is a variation in the pH and it was not properly fermented. It will result to wet droppings, and because of these various results, many will just stick to this conventional feeding program whereby they just get the dry feed and they use it. And the sixth point is lack of commercial scale solution. You discover that most feed companies do not sell fermented feed at scale, so farmers would have to ferment by themselves, which isn't practical for big farmers, which I have said earlier. The seventh point is that the conservatism in farming. You see, one thing about poultry farmers is that they are usually cautious about experimenting, most especially layer farmers. If you are a layer farmer, it will not be easy for you to switch directly to fermented feed. And on the other hand, if you are a layer farmer, it will not be easy for you to switch directly to another feed. How much more switching to fermented feed? So this become a very difficult decision for the farmers. Since synthetic feed already works, they just need no risk at all. So instead of changing what's already been given, what they already have as a predictable result, they will rather remain in that instead of going for the ones that they cannot predict the result or the outcome. So you now see that all these are some of the challenges that made this fermented feed not to be used by most farmers. In summary of all, the main reasons in all these that I have said, the main reasons are just the lack of the knowledge, the fear of the mistakes, the labor and the time required, then the storage challenges and the lack of commercial availability. All these are summarized to be the 7 points that made this fermented feed not to be used by most farmers, looking at its beneficial aspect. I believe you've gotten a better understanding, and if you can manage these resources, definitely you will have better result and better yield. Please, if you get anything tangible from this video, help me to grow my channel by subscribing and click the bell icon so that you get notified anytime I upload a new video. Don't hesitate to give this video a like. Drop your questions in the comment section and I will respond to them, and share for others to benefit. Thanks.